morning, students. Today we are looking at Newton's third law of motion. So Newton's third law of motion states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. तो चलिए इसको देखते हैं, right? So what happens when two objects interact with each other? Okay, now suppose you have a ball on the floor. So the ball exerts a force on the table and the force the table exerts a force on the ball. Okay, so दो forces होते हैं, force on the table and an opposite force on the ball, and both of them are equal in magnitude, right? So one is called the action force and the other one is called the reaction force. यहाँ पर action force क्या हुआ? The ball exerts a force on the table and the reaction is the table exerts a force on the object. Okay, so that brings us to Newton's third law of motion, which is very simple. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. तो यहाँ पर action force है, ball exerts a force on the table, and the reaction force is the table exerts a force on the ball. Okay, and both are equal in magnitude. Okay, so whenever two objects interact, there is force on both the objects, right? Okay, तो ये नोट करने वाली बात है कि एक ही ऑब्जेक्ट पर नहीं लग रहा है फोर्स, अलग अलग ऑब्जेक्ट्स पर फोर्स लग रहे हैं, right? Now let us look at this example of this frog swimming. The frog is pushing back the water, exerting a force on the water, and so the water pushes the frog forward. ठीक है? Right? Now what about this bird that is flying, this eagle that is flying? Okay, what can you say about that? Yes, here also the eagle exerts a force on the air, right? And the air pushes the eagle upwards or the bird upwards. ठीक है, तो वो eagle नीचे की तरफ force लगाता है and the air is the one that pushes it back or exerts a force back on the eagle. Okay, so again, once again, very simple, the third law of motion, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And सबसे बढ़िया example है ये gun का. Okay, जब भी आप एक gun को bullet pull करते हो, okay, if you recoil it, let me show you here it again. Okay, so the best example is of the gun being recoiled. So when you pull the trigger, what happens? The bullet goes forward, right? The gun exerts a force on the bullet and the bullet exerts a force on the gun, right? Okay, तो आप ये सोचोगे कि दोनों force same है, right? The force exerted by the gun on the bullet and the force exerted by the bullet on the gun, since according to Newton's third law of motion they should be equal, they are equal. Okay, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. But यहाँ पर जिस acceleration से bullet सामने जाता है उस acceleration से gun पीछे नहीं जाता है. क्यों? और जबकि bullet का speed या acceleration काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है gun से, क्यों नहीं होता? फोर्स तो सेम लग रही है, राइट? क्यों नहीं होता? आपने सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन हमने जब देखा था तो हमने ये रिलेशनशिप डिराइव किया था कि फोर्स इज इक्वल टू मास इनटू एक्सेलरेशन. तो इससे क्या मिला हमको? फोर्स एक्सेलरेशन फोर्स डिवाइडेड बाय मास. तो यहाँ से साफ पता चलता है कि मास अगर ज्यादा है तो एक्सेलरेशन कम हो जाता है. तो यहाँ पर आसान है. Yes, the mass of the gun is way more than the mass of the bullet, इसलिए acceleration of the gun is less than the bullet. Okay, अब ये example देखिएगा. This man is jumping out of the boat, so he exerts a force on this boat and the boat exerts a force on the man. Okay, दोनों equal और opposite हैं. दोनों note कीजिएगा, एक बोट पर लग रहा है फोर्स, एक्शन फोर्स एंड रिएक्शन फोर्स ऑन द मैन. नाउ यहाँ पर बोट थोड़ा सा पीछे हिलेगा, लेकिन अगर यही व्यक्ति एक शिप से अगर वो जंप करता है, राइट, व्हाट, द शिप वोंट मूव, राइट? व्हाई इज दैट सो? फोर्स लग रहा है शिप पर तो लग रहा है, एंड शिप विल put a force on the equal and opposite force on the man, right? But the ship doesn't move because of its mass, right? There's not much acceleration or movement in the second case. Okay, so the two things we have to remember, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. सही है, राइट? एक एक्शन फोर्स होता है, एक रिएक्शन फोर्स होता है, दोनों इक्वल इन मैग्नीट्यूड होते हैं, लेकिन सबसे पहली बात हमें याद रखना चाहिए, दोनों अलग अलग ऑब्जेक्ट्स पर लग रहे हैं. So like in this, the sailor exerts a force on the boat and the boat is the one that exerts a force on the sailor. So अलग अलग ऑब्जेक्ट्स पर फोर्स लग रहे हैं. The ball exerts the force on the table and the table exerts a force on the ball. Okay, so they are not on the same object. The gun exerts a force on the bullet, right? And the bullet exerts a force on the gun. So the action force is on the bullet and the reaction force is on the gun. So same objects पर नहीं लग रही है, right? And the other thing, the third thing we should remember कि दोनों का भले ही force equal लग रहा है, acceleration same नहीं है because of the difference in mass. Okay, right? So I hope this law is pretty clear to you. इसके काफ़ी applications आते हैं, right? Which you should remember and you should know.